This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
UT's receiving corps has been hit hard by injuries here at the start of fall camp. A lot of people said Tennessee should have gone out and bought a receiver back in the transfer portal. Well, what's hindsight tell us? I'm John Pennington. This is the Sports Source Digital Network, and I'm joined by VFL Kevin Simon. And Kevin, of course, was working in the front offices of a couple of NFL teams. You worked in the front office of Tennessee for a little bit. You're the perfect guy to talk to about the receiver thing. You had Chris Brazzell, who missed the first few days of practice. Mike Matthews missed a day and then came back in a big knee brace. Braylon Staley then went out. You've had multiple guys. I don't think any of these guys are done for the year or anything like that, so not trying to freak people out. But they're not getting work in with the new quarterbacks. And now is the time to get those guys on the same page and get the chemistry going. So in hindsight, all the people said, go get another receiver. You've only got 7 guys on scholarship. Go get another receiver. They didn't do it. They don't like to go into the portal a whole lot. They're certainly not the opposite of Ole Miss, let's put it that way. Hindsight now, although you might have said it in foresight, should they have gone out and gotten another receiver so you wouldn't be running out there with 5 guys in practice as they did earlier this week?
Yeah, the receivers obviously was an issue a year ago. You had 9 guys on scholarship. But the issue was, where's the dynamic guy? Where's the guy who can catch one short and score from a distance? Where's the guy who can run by and take the top off a defense, a la Jalen Hyatt? Mm-hmm. You didn't have that guy last year. And there were some guys that hit the portal that were worth considering. LSU snapped up the kid from Kentucky and also snapped up the kid from Oklahoma, who both are dynamic playmakers. So not only do you not have enough, and you did get Amari Jefferson out of the portal, transferred in from Alabama.
A guy who never played at Alabama.
He's an unproven guy, an unproven commodity. But I think, obviously, the depth is an issue, right? You only have 7 receivers on scholarship. 3 of those guys are freshmen. So that's an issue. But every single receiver in the room is either a first-year or second-year player, except for Chris Brazzell. No one's played meaningful snaps in the SEC.
And he's only been here 2 years. He was
at
Tulane.
This is going on year 2.
Yeah.
And he, while he had some positive flashes a year ago, he also had some drops. Reports early on in camp are that receivers have been dropping the ball a lot more than the coaching staff would like to see. So, it's like Heupel says, we have young guys who can't be young. They're going to have to grow up fast. And that group in particular really kind of carries the hopes and dreams of this season on their shoulders. Well,
and the problem is, I would feel better about this, and I said this with Ryan Callahan the other day when we talked a little bit about this in the Tuesday practice report we did. I would feel a little better about this if you had a veteran quarterback returning, because at least he knows some of those guys. He can tell you, here's what I like, run the route this way, do this, I like to throw it this way. They don't have any of that communication. They don't know, when he gives me this look, that means X. They don't have any of that hidden communication. They don't know what the other guy likes. They don't know the difference between Merklinger. They've been with him, some of the guys who were around last year. They've caught passes from Merklinger before. None of these guys have caught passes from Aguilar in any kind of practice situation. I mean, they were going out in the summer catching balls, but that's not what we're talking about here. So you're going to roll into that Syracuse game, and not only are they having to just get through the normal yips that you run through in fall camp, get the drops out of your system, learn the offense, you're not going to have the chemistry with your new starting quarterback. And there are a lot of people who laugh at the Syracuse game, and it may wind up being NC State Part 2. Very well could, because they lost a ton of players. But I'm a little concerned about what your offense is going to be able to do against Syracuse if your quarterbacks and your receivers haven't been able to put a lot of time together in fall camp.
Yeah, I think the key word that you said is chemistry. Yeah. Those guys understanding one another, being on the same page, where I'm going to be, the route, the language of my route, knowing when to let go of the ball, all the timing that goes in. And this is a rhythm and time in offense. It takes time to get those things down. You would like to have a veteran quarterback, to your point, because what's the job of a quarterback? The job of a quarterback, and it can be done multiple ways, but the job of the quarterback is to elevate the play of everyone around them. That's the job. Some guys do it with their mind. Some guys do it with their arms. Some guys do it with their legs. Some guys do it with a combination of all three. But having an older guy who's seasoned in the offense, and we all know Joey Aguilar's going into his senior season.
Yeah.
But we mean an established guy who's been in the offense and knows it. Yeah, knows this offense like the back of his hand. Yeah, it is a concern. But to your point, you mentioned Syracuse. They have had a lot of losses. They are very well coached by Fran Brown and his staff. But with the losses that they've suffered, especially through the portal and otherwise, graduation and what have you, it feels like a very winnable game. Mm-hmm. It's a big game, but hopefully one that if you had some kinks to work out, then you know what, this isn't a bad opponent to try to work out some of those fine details.
If you told me, if we were getting word out of camp right now that, man, these receivers are catching everything you throw to them, everybody's healthy, quarterbacks are looking good, they're getting good reps in, I'd feel real good about Syracuse. Because you're right, you should beat Syracuse. I put that down as a win. I'm just saying, the deeper you get into camp and you got two groups that aren't working together, that worries me. Again, it's almost like if you had a steady receiving core that was proven, but you're having to bring in Joey Aguilar, okay. If you've got a proven quarterback, but you're having to bring in a new bunch of receivers, okay. You got new everything. So it's not just this group learning what they have to do and this group learning what they have to do. They're not learning what they have to do together. And that's what scares me, is the fact that one kind of exacerbates the other.
For sure. And you got 9 new starters on offense. The entire offensive line is new except for Lance Hurd, who,
struggled last year.
Yeah, he had his issues last year. Now, we all expect him to be better going into year 2 and going into his 3rd year as a redshirt sophomore this season. But he had some tough times, especially in pass protection a year ago. Yeah. So the offense as a whole, there's some fine tuning to be done, and you don't have Dylan Sampson to kind of bail you out.
Yeah.
Now feel good about the running backs, but you don't have that difference maker, and that's what Sampson was a year ago.
Arguably, that was the greatest season in UT running back history.
Yeah.
That's how good that. So you can have 3 good running backs this year, but that was the best season. He broke records that were set in 1919 or 1929. You haven't seen anything like last year in 100 years. So the idea that you'll just replace him. There's just nowhere to really lean on that offense right now. So I don't want people to think that, Pennington says they're going to suck through November. No, I think eventually these receivers and quarterbacks will get on the same page. I just wish they could do it in fall camp. And I'm guessing, I had a lot of people respond the other day not liking me saying that this is a concern. I'm guessing if you could give truth serum to Josh Heupel, this would not be how he drew it up, having a bunch of guys out and practicing with 5 receivers in the middle of the week.
Yeah, no doubt. And obviously I think that, in hindsight, they probably wish that they would have went after another receiver or 2. It's just especially a dynamic guy. But, injuries, you're always one play, what do we say? You're always one play away from being the starter. Last year we saw Squirrel was in and out of the lineup.
Yeah.
Brew McCoy, who was coming back off a horrific ankle fracture, he was kind of in and out of the lineup. Dante Thornton, with his entire career at Tennessee, was in and out of the lineup. So it's in football, injuries happen. You'd like to have a little bit more depth, especially at a position that we haven't played a freshman meaningful snaps at wide receivers since Heupel's been here. Now that's going to have to change. And the guy that I loved when I saw him in person is Travis Smith.
And that's what everybody's talking about. His speed. He's an athlete. Yeah.
Well, and he's huge. When you see him, you think he's a damn outside linebacker. He's got to be 6'3.5", 6'4", 210, 215. Yeah. I'm pretty sure as a freshman he's bigger than Juwan. And faster. So that's the guy that I'm like, look, I'm pretty sure he's the best athlete in the room.
Yeah.
He's the guy that they got to get going. And if they can get him going and get a couple other freshmen going, Rodarius is another one who's got speed and ability, then I think they can make this to where they're getting positive production out of that room.
Well, if people are looking for the silver lining in the dark cloud of the injuries and some of your starters who've been out and missed a little time, you have been getting more reps with those guys. So I don't know that, again, I don't think that's how they would draw it up, but maybe that'll be the positive, is the fact that Travis Smith and some of those guys are getting a little bit more playing time right now in fall camp than they would have, first team reps, than they would have if you had everybody out there. Last thing I'll leave you with, tight ends, running backs. I've seen people online talk about the fact, stop worrying about the receivers. We've got a great tight end room. We've got running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield. Well, that's well and good, and that's true. You didn't have dynamic receivers last year due to the injuries, and you still made the college football playoff. But you made it due to Dylan Sampson and your defense. So I think you can survive if your receiving corps is banged up all year and you're having to make do with tight ends and running backs. You can survive. I don't think you can thrive, though. This offense needs wide receivers to go get the big plays and make it go.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be able to get back on time with the tempo, you got to start creating explosive plays in the pass game again. I want to say, what were you, in the bottom quarter of the league last season?
Yeah,
in terms of explosive pass plays?
In terms of pass plays over 30 yards, they had 40 in Hendon Hookers last year. It dropped to 18 with Joe Milton and 15 last year.
Yeah.
So you went from 40 30-yard passes to 15 in 2 years. That's a huge drop.
A huge drop, yeah. So to get back to the tempo, and quite frankly, we don't throw to the running backs or the tight ends very often. You know, even at our best year, you know, guys like Princeton Fan and Jacob Warren, or when they had Jacob Warren and McCollum Castles, you know, I mean, you're talking about, what, 35, 40 balls between those two?
Yeah.
So, you know, those guys haven't been a big part of the explosive plays in the pass game, especially not a running back. Yeah, we don't really throw. We just don't throw to the running back. We hand it off to that guy and feel good about it.
I remember 2 years ago when Jalen Wright was still here, thinking, why aren't you throwing to Dylan Sampson? Let him be the guy out of the backfield when he was the shifty guy. Put on a little weight last year to be more the workhorse, but 2 years ago, it's like, why don't you throw to him out of the backfield? Get him involved. Nah, they don't. So I do think there are people, though, you're in that time, it's August. So anytime you say something's wrong, people are going to have the blowback. And right now it's, I don't care about your wide receivers. We got tight ends for that. It's like, okay.
I think it's a valid concern. I mean, I think
it's
on
legit.
any team coming into the season, there's concerns or a spot that's more concerning than the others.
Yeah.
The wide receiver group is definitely a concern at this point, not just the injuries, but also the youth and the lack of depth in the room.
And the drops we've been hearing about.
And the drops are concerning for sure.
Kevin Simon, I'm John Pennington. If you like this kind of content, click the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and it'll notify you when we put more stuff up. And leave us a comment. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you don't like hearing about the receivers. Maybe you have other concerns. Let us know what those are in the comment section. We'll see you next time right back here on the Sports Source Digital Network.